Hey y'all, it's Brandon with Voodoo Forge. Now I have been needing a vise that was portable. I've got a leg vise, a post vise that's mounted to a post on a steel wheel, but I needed something that I would be willing to leave outside or at a job site. So I picked up a cheap vise, more than likely made in red china. I don't normally do that, but this one's going to be left outside. And I need to make the stand now. Now I've had the rim for a while, but I got a chance to go to the scrapyard today and picked up some other materials that I'm going to use for this, and then I'm going to use some other scrap I've had. But I'm just going to walk you through what I'm doing to make this heavy enough to be a vise stand. You could do pretty much the same thing to make a stand for a bench grinder. So let's get on it. Okay, well here's most of the material for the project. Quite a bit of it I already had. I already had this rim. It's a 16-inch steel truck rim. These are center pieces cut out of cylinders, like oxygen cylinders, things like that. I use a byproduct of some other projects that I do. This came from the scrapyard. It is about 35 pounds right now. It's going to have some cut off. It is 6x6 square tubing with 1/4-inch walls. It's got a cap welded on the end, so we'll leave that on there for extra weight. This is the plate that's going to be on top that the vise will be mounted to. It's 3/4 of an inch thick. It's about 14 inches by 11.5. So it'll be good and stout plate up there, and it weighs about 30. Well, it weighs exactly 33 pounds. Here's the cheap vise I picked up. It's a 5-inch vise, bolts to hold it on, and then I'll be using some more of this tank material to add weight to it, and maybe some other things as I go, but I'm going to add that in the wheel to make it heavier. These pieces of cylinder that I'm going to put in the middle to add weight. I'm going to start with the small one and weld them into the center. But to mark them, we'll take his yardstick, flat. Then I'm going to cut about an inch below that, because this one will need to be shorter than the last one that I put on, and you'll see why as I go. I'm going to nest these inside of each other. So I need to cut this, weld it in, and then measure the next one, and weld it in, and then measure the last one, and weld it in. Got this piece cut, the edge is ground, cleaned up the inside of the rim. It's not spotless, but we're not welding a battleship hull here. Alright. The bigger one, smaller one's welded in. What I determined is I need to go down 2.5 inches from this line. So I may have to get a longer piece to get this to work in the bandsaw. Got my second ring cut, ground and clean the edge. Fit in there just like that. Add the weight. This is where we're at with our adding steel so far. We've got the smallest one and then the medium-sized one in here. Now, to get ready for the big one, the big one's going to be this diameter. It's not going to be this piece. It's going to be a heavier piece, but it's the same diameter, so I'm going to use this one to measure on. Screwed up somewhere. It's about 1 inch too long. So another 25 minutes in the bandsaw for this bad boy. Okay, I cut about 1 inch off of it, and it fits in there now. So let's get this welded in. got these pieces welded in. It's added quite a bit of weight. It's level now. It's probably that's probably giving it another 25 or more pounds. The bottom of this tank is real thick. Ooh, I have to make a noise when I move it now. So now we're gonna get ready to put the post on here. What I realized a little while ago is this is a 6x6 post, and that is 8.5 inches. So I've got some scrap 1/4 inch by 4 inch strips I'm going to cut that I'm going to weld on here, so I have a good surface to weld my 6x6 to. I cut my 4 inch by 1/4 inch scrap, and I've marked lines where I need to cut off of it so I can get a better weld attaching it to the wheel. I've also labeled them north and south because I don't plan on moving the wheel, but that's where we're at right now. Got these pieces a 1/4 inch cut, got everything lined up. I would have used a cutoff wheel on angle grinder to do this, but I'm somehow out of them, so I ended up doing everything on the van side. So let's get these on here. Okay, I'm not real happy about this. I'm having to relearn some lessons. I ran a full bead over here and over here without tacking this entire plate on, and now it's buckled up. So I'm going to go ahead and I've tacked this one on, so I'm going to finish these welds. I'm going to finish this weld and just grind it smooth, but dumbass rookie mistake is what that was, and so telling you so you don't do it. Well, I've got it ground as slick as I'm going to. Now I'm looking for a point. Put that table there, and the vise will be it. I've got to cut this tubing off in the bandsaw now, and then it's not completely even down there, but I can fix that when I weld this piece on. Well, I tell you, cutting through this beam was a ordeal. Took a whole lot longer than I thought it was going to. Alright, I'm just going to put one spot down here and then make sure I've got this thing level before I do the rest. Okay, I've got my galvanized bolts that I'm going to be welding. So, I don't want them to be galvanized when I do that. So what I'm doing is I'm soaking about the bolt head and about 1 inch of the bolt in vinegar, and that'll remove the galvanized. You want to make sure if you do this, it's in a very well ventilated area. It does put off some fumes. It is a chemical reaction. This is the plate that's going to be the top. Here's the vise. I marked a line in the center. So I'm going to get this thing lined up so I can get the holes drilled and marked. Mark it with a Sharpie. Here's a way to do that one. Before I drill, I will center punch them. I'm drilling a pilot hole, pretty big one, but a pilot hole nonetheless. I don't know the hardness of this material that I'm drilling. I've got it clamped in the drill press here. Drill press set on the slow speed. Let's see how this goes. Oh, well, that's cutting nice. Very nice. Okay, I thought I was going to have to weld all my bolts, but turns out I put my plate on here. It's only the center one. I'll be able to reach the other two from the outside once this is welded on. So let's just tack this one on real quick. Okay, I've got this lined up where I want. I've got the bolts in, got nuts on these two so they don't fall through. So I'm just going to hit the corners real quick. Now that I've got the corners tacked, I'm going to go and run a heavy bead all the way around. The top plate is welded on. Okay, the bolts are a little long, so I'm going to have to ground them off. Alright, there it is. And let me tell you, I couldn't really be happier with it. It's good and heavy. I can move it. But I don't think it's going to move too much when I'm using it. I'm going to be honest, I wish I had went ahead and spent a couple $100 more and got a better vise. I mean, this turned out way better than I anticipated it turning out. The only thing that's not just built for permanence on this is my communist vise here. Well, that took longer than anticipated. I made some mistakes along the way. I learned from them. I hope you did. There were some things that I didn't do as I planned. Initially, I thought I was going to have to put some scrap metal and concrete in the big square tube, but it was heavy enough without it. I'm really glad I welded those pieces of cylinder under the bottom of the wheel. Altogether, I guess it probably weighs about 130, 140 pounds. I mean, you can't do a lot of like making scrolls in the jig or anything on it, except for maybe the smallest material, but it'll be fine for using as a work vise, just on things where I need to move it around. And it's probably, I'm gonna end up replacing the vise that's on it pretty quick, because I'm really happy with the stand. The only thing that I'm probably still going to do to it is just take the corners off and maybe chamfer the edges around it, just to make it a little less sharp, a little more bump into friendly. But anyway, that's it. If you like the video, please hit the like button below. And if you would like to see more videos like this, please subscribe to Voodoo Tennessee on YouTube. And if you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments below. And y'all behave yourselves.